This video is going to be on my Mustang 330 skid steer that I just got. As you can tell, the engine's out of it, and it's not in the best of shape. The engine, the original engine, we don't know what happened to it. It had I don't know, it's a Wisconsin something. I think it's a TJD. But this is the engine that it had in it when we got it. And it was seized, but we got it to turn over. And the valves open and everything. And it had a lot of water in it, but it's not that bad. I'm gonna try to get this running and put it back in there. We've cleaned it all out with diesel fuel and wire brushed it. Took all the covers off. But here's the Mustang. Now the Mustang, or this Mustang 330, the motor goes on to the pump through a chain. There's a little chain, and then the two gears link together, so it's direct drive. There's no belt or anything. And then there's that one pump assembly right there, which is actually multiple pumps. So you can tell there's several pumps here. And then underneath, there is two motors. There's one there, that motor, and there's one right there. And that's basically it for the hydraulic system. Move this out of the way. Now this, we were told that this is original hours, which if it is, then it's pretty low hours. But it's 1,085 hours are on it. And then there's this Wisconsin engine thing. For the hydraulics, to lift up the hydraulics, as you can see here, there's lift arm, which is this one, and then there's bucket, which is this one. And I think this needs adjusted or something, but it works, because if you push that forward and go to tilt the bucket in, it makes it so it will tilt, and then if you push it back, it doesn't tilt. This one is going to need freed up pretty good. It's just solid rust right there. There's the little hydraulic fittings right there. Now this is a very similar skid steer to the John Deere 70. Or I think it's the John Deere 70A skid steer or something. But it's the same skid steer, just a different bucket, from what I've heard and from what I know. Now, there's these two front hydraulic cylinders right here. And we're going to need to make a new plate, because somebody cracked it and then welded it again. And I do have a bucket for this, but it's not with it right now. This skid steer has 15-inch tires. These are Goodyear, or 15-inch rims, and it should take the front tires off a tractor. There's a chain in there, sort of like a dirt bike chain, but heavier quality. It's thicker links and stuff. And that's basically it. It was supposed to have a Onan engine in it, but it didn't. And here's the weight that goes on the back. And we have some panels for it. Here's the little thing that moves it back and forth. And I have used a skid steer with a T-handle like that before, but I haven't really done a lot of work with one. It's going to need all new hydraulic hoses. They're all shot. It's going to Yeah, there's not really a lot about it, but you can, if you look right there, camera's not really picking it up. There it goes. It says Cisna, made in USA. And you can hear a plane or something in the background. It's kind of hard to see with the camera. But if you were to look that brand up, they're the people who make the hydraulic drive motors. And I believe you could get this with two types of hydraulic drive motors. A high quality or a low quality, or a high torque or a low torque motor. And these motors seem to be pretty good. I have a gasket right over here. Okay, it's inside. I'm gonna get the gasket out really quick to show you. But I have a gasket for the motor because the last owner, he told us that he bought it from a school, and I'm not sure what they're doing with it, but I think they were gonna use it as a shop project to fix it up. And I think the school put the different engine in it, and apparently he said that the bucket would lift and tilt and everything, but only one motor would drive. So he rebuilt the motor and he put it back together, and he forgot a gasket when he rebuilt it. If you look down there, you can see there's no gasket, where if you look at that one, you can see the gasket material. But if you look right there, there's no gasket between there. So it's going to need taken apart, and it's going to need a gasket put in it. And then it should work pretty well. But this has been sitting for 10 years in the same spot with no cover or anything on it. And the hydraulic system doesn't have any water in it. So that'll tell you the quality of this system. No water in it. No rust on the dipstick. But, well, from what we know, there's no water in it. No water in there, at least. And then I think this is where you fill up the hydraulic oil or something. And then I believe the battery goes right there. But this is a long way from having a battery. But I'm going to get that gasket, and I'm going to show you the model number for it, because it's a John Deere gasket, but the John Deere is the same. So give me a second and I'll get that. Okay, so here's the gasket. Let's see if I can get to there. But this gasket is a John Deere, as you can tell. It says right there on it. But the 330 should be the same as the John Deere 70. And if you look at the owner's manuals and stuff, you'll see that they're the same. And I think John Deere is one of the only people that you can get parts for this thing through. John Deere, and I believe Gel, or Gehl, or however you say it. But I believe those are the two companies you can get parts for this thing through. And if anybody needs any, if anybody has any questions and wants to see the owner's manual, we have the operator's manual and the regular owner's manual, and we have a manual that we printed off for that. But it's a pretty simple machine, and that's basically it. That plate on the back, I do not know what's up with this, because if you look, it's broken across here, and broken here. So I believe the original plate was like a lot bigger than this. And then I'm not sure where this plate goes. This plate we found sitting down there. And we actually did pressure wash this, or I did. But I didn't pressure wash back here because the engine was back here. And I didn't want to get any water in the engine. I wasn't sure what could really get wet on the engine. But it's a pretty good loader. Let me move this tarp. As you can see, Mustang 330, or I believe it's pronounced owatonna, or yeah, there's the model 4117, and hydrostatic. It's pretty heavy duty skid steer. Has these bolts so the pins won't come out. Here's a sticker. That's basically it. Here's the key for it. I'm amazed it still turns. After sitting 10 years, you wouldn't think something like that would work. In this engine, even after sitting for 10 years, the starter still worked. Turned right over. But this engine is a pretty good fit back in the skid steer. And the gears line up and everything. So it should run pretty well once you get the engine running. And I'm not sure how much work I'm going to have to do to the hydraulic system, but I know that valve right there, that's going to need rebuilt. There's another picture. Shows a cab on it, which I didn't think it came with. And then there's the lift arm. I've already showed those. But this, I forgot what I was saying. But it's gonna need that rebuilt, and then it's gonna need, I don't think it's gonna need these cylinders rebuilt. They're pretty good. It's gonna need a new O-ring, but I don't think it's gonna need a whole, I don't think it's gonna need to be taken to a shop to be rebuilt. I think I can just replace the O-rings. This is gonna need a new O-ring. These cylinders I plan on replacing. I took and I put them all the way as far as they go in, but there's rust on the shaft. And even like whenever I pushed in the cylinders, you could see oil was leaking out and stuff. So they're not that good. You can sort of tell there's oil on the shaft, or there's rust on the shaft. And then you can see this skid steer is built really good. You can see the grease fitting and stuff. Grease fittings here. Somebody took them out. There's one, but it's only rated to lift 500 pounds, which I think it could lift more, but I wouldn't recommend it just because it's a pretty light skid steer. We pulled this with our four-wheeler, our Polaris 700, but it's a pretty light skid steer. Four-wheel drive, not much more to say about it. But if you were wondering about this, because I know before I bought this, I was trying to do research and I couldn't find any videos actually showing it, or showing like the parts of the skid steer and stuff. I'm going to show an underneath view of the skid steer. But I know before I bought mine, I was searching online and I couldn't find much information at all on this. There's the back of that motor. And I'll keep updates on the skid steer. Pretty thick metal. I'm not sure why they made the metal so thick right here. Assuming that's structural. This skid steer is built really heavy duty for how big it is. Considering it's only like a couple feet wide. I think it's 48 inches wide. And I'm not sure how many feet long it is, but I wear like a size 10, so one. And it's 7 of however long my boot is. So it's 7 boot lengths. And then the seat would go right here. It would go over top this, and it would go over top the battery. And there is a filter on this. I didn't think there was going to be one. I think somebody added it, actually. But there would be a seat right here, and the factory seat right here folds up, or at least I was told it was factory, but it folds up like that. And then as you can tell, there's just that plate under it. The throttle is just a little idle, and then here's the linkage for it. Linkage is all free.